Hey there, Cats and Kitties. I am the Blues Man, Johnny Blues, and recently it was announced that Wolf of Wall Street actress Margot Robbie is potentially in talks to play Motoko Kusanagi, the lead character in the live-action adaptation of the Ghost in the Shell film. Basically I got the heads up from this from a good friend on YouTube, Dr. Freedom, over on Facebook. Thank you, sir, for passing that along. How do I feel about this? I'm kind of apprehensive from the get-go because I know nothing of Margot Robbie's work, actually. I've been looking into it quite a bit because Ghost in the Shell is a franchise that's near and dear to my heart. I do very much like the films, in the series, but more so I've loved the, anime series, Standalone Complex, as well as the sequel series, Standalone Complex Second Gig. I've been enjoying what I've seen so far, only the first chapter of the new Ghost in the Shell Arise, that kind of stuff. And every iteration, from the manga to the anime to the films, have I loved. I've been collecting Ghost in the Shell related action figures. Motoko Kusanagi is probably one of my all-time, if not the all-time favorite anime character, that I have. And I really care about this project, and I really care about what they're going to be doing, what kind of tweaks they're going to be making, stuff like that. Now, it is going to be tentatively directed by Rupert Sanders, who did Snow White and the Huntsman, which I have yet to see. I'm curious about, but I have heard mixed reactions to that film, and that's not, it kind of adds to the apprehension, as well as the fact that Margot Robbie, simply put, is not a Japanese actress, which I would have kind of been hoping for. She's Australian, but being that I know nothing of her, I've been reading up on basically what movies she's been in, and I've seen that she's been very successful. She's a very talented actress for all intents and purposes, been nominated for awards. I saw all but one clip from Wolf of Wall Street, and I found it pretty hilarious and thought she was pretty good in it. Very interesting how she has disguised her accent and everything, being, she hails from Australia. But, of course, there are people who are already clamoring, well, they're trying to whitewash another, property that originates from outside the U.S., and that's the one aspect that really gives me pause. I mean, there is the whole sort of Captain Kirk aesthetic, tut-tut, young minds, fresh ideas, be tolerant, but this isn't a fresh idea. This is a remake, a re-adaptation of something they've already done before, and while I want to see some new ground potentially broken, I'm also very concerned that they're going to do so in all the wrong ways. I don't want to see this taking place in a futuristic New York or a futuristic L.A. I would like it to adhere to its Japanese origins, because that's a lot of, from the ideological to the political, aspects you find in the story. It depends on where the focus is going to be. Is it going to be the technology, is there hopefully going to be sort of the kind of commentary that I've really associated with Ghost in the Shell in my mind, existentialism, philosophy, humanity, poverty, cyber and digital technologies, all these kinds of things, AI, artificial intelligence, all of that is always under the, the microscope in Ghost in the Shell, depending on which iteration it goes in and out of focus and that kind of thing. Sometimes a story heavily depends on it. What makes up the spirit inside us, the energy and stuff like that, the philosophy behind that, and whatever, what you tend to believe. If you switch out body parts for, cyberized pieces and such like that, if you put your soul essentially into a brain box, a brain case, which is then held inside of a fully cybernetic, artificially produced body, the ramifications of that are always explored, and that's interesting. Bill Wheeler, who I'm not familiar with, has penned the script apparently, and this is going to be produced by DreamWorks, or under their banner in any case. And as another good friend of mine on YouTube, The Real Manos, had posted some time ago on Facebook, why not somebody like Rinko Kikuchi for the lead character? That would be something I would think would be, more along the right lines, the right direction. Of course, I will be apprehensive. I will be watching this with a fine-tooth comb to see what exactly they're going to be putting into it. And Margot Robbie, for all intents and purposes, seems to be a qualified actress. Now, the whitewash terminology, I don't like that terminology, but there is some background to it to suggest that's kind of the case here. How much further is this going to go? Are we going to have a cast that is broad-ranged of, basically backgrounds, ethnic backgrounds and such like that? Can we expect this to be a futuristic Japanese landscape that we will be seeing depicted in a live-action, probably CG-heavy, special effects-laden action kind of story, or are we going to have this be wholly Americanized, or is this going to be sort of reinterpreted as a post-apocalyptic kind of future where it could be anywhere? I don't know exactly how they're going to be going into this, but it does seem that they are at least riding the rafters as to wanting to get this done as a project. And so while I am apprehensive, while it does give me pause, I'm still liking the idea that if they get the right talents, the right kind of acting calibers for this kind of a project, we might still be pleasantly surprised with the outcome, rather than aftermath. So yeah, basically my initial reaction is to say, well, I'm really going to have to wait and see, because I love Ghost in the Shell. I love its many iterations. And of course, you have Arise, which is still currently unfolding in its third or fourth part. I think the third was just recently released in Japan. And this is another, yet again, anime adaptation that some people who consider themselves hardcore Ghost in the Shell fans weren't too happy with. So, I mean, I can see a lot of people knee-jerk reacting, this is going to be the worst thing ever, I'm going to boycott it whatsoever, and I want nothing to do with it. Me, I'm a little more on, the cautionary, let's see what happens, but I am very apprehensive about it because of my love for the franchise, and I just hope they get the right kind of people involved, that the story is deep, engaging, has that CG action element that, naturally it would have in a live action, envisioning of Ghost in the Shell. But I do hope there is that philosophy and that idea of the mind and the spirit and the body and the soul. What makes us human? What makes us transcend, perchance, our physical form? If technologies like that, bridge the gap between humanity and technology. And it's going to be a very interesting situation to see how this plays out in any case. So yeah, I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments below if you've heard this news, what your reaction to it is, if you're an anime fan, whether you are or not. Basically, I know that the contingent of anime fans in the U.S. is a minority among all other contingents and such like that. But whatever expectations you may have, I'd love to hear in the comments below. So otherwise, that'll be pretty much it for me on this. Hope this video finds you well, and I'll catch you all later. Peace.